The Boy at the Back of the Class, Chapter 20, The Coldstream Guards. When my brain woke up again and I opened my eyes, I was lying on something soft and could see a blur of flashing blue lights and lots of police cars everywhere. Right into the ambulance we go, said a voice. Tom was standing next to where my feet were. He was crying and saying, Friend, friend, a lot London police officer, but standing behind him were two of the Queen's Special Guards. Forgetting that I had been frightened, I sat up and cried out, Please! And realizing the note was still in my hand but all scrunched up now, I held it out to them and said, Please, you have to give this to the Queen. The London police officer who had been talking to Tom walked up to me. Now you just calm down and take it easy. You did a dangerous thing today. These are trained combat officers, he said, pointing at the Queen's Special Guards. They are trained to stop anyone attempting to hurt the Queen. But we didn't want to hurt the Queen, sobbed Tom, his face red and wet. We know that now, son, but we can't be too careful, can we? Said the officer, his voice not as strict as it was before. One of the Queen's Special Guards came over to me. Let's have a look at this note, then, shall we? He said, gently holding out his hand. I passed it to him and watched his face as he read it. Sometimes people won't tell you what they are really thinking. So you have to watch their face extra hard and see if they give any clues away. I didn't expect a special guard to do anything with his face, especially not one who worked for the Queen. But this one chuckled and handed it over to other special guard standing next to him who had more medals on his chest. He smiled too. I don't know why, because it wasn't meant to be funny. This is what the note said. Dear Your Highness Majesty Queen of England, we wrote you a letter on Friday about Emmett, our friend who is a refugee boy, and put 3 stamps on it so that the Royal Mail would get it to you faster. We have come to see you today because it's Wednesday already, and we thought the Royal Mail might have lost the letter, and as the gates are closing on Friday, it means we haven't got much time to find Emmett's family and bring them here so that they can all live together. We are outside the gates now. Tom's got brown hair and I have got dark brown hair, and we are in our school uniforms, which are dark blue and grey with pictures of a ship and a book on it so that you can see us easily. We can't stay later than 1:30 because if we don't get home by the end of the school day, then our mums and Tom's dad and Josie and Michael will worry. Please let us come and see you as soon you have finished your breakfast. Yours sincerely, me and Tom. P.S. We have got extra tea bags for tea. Hoping to have tea with Queen there. Were you? Asked the second special guard as he shook his head. Here, take a look at this, he said, passing the note to a police officer who was standing opposite. She read it and said, Well, you don't see notes like that every day. A panoramic woman in dark green. And as he looked at the note too. Aw, sweet, she said. Then she made me lie down again and start pushing the bed onto an ambulance. But I don't want to go to the hospital, please. No, I shouted, starting to feel scared. I don't like hospitals. The last time I saw Dad was when he was in the hospital, and I made promise to myself that I would never see one again, not ever. Don't worry, we don't take you to the hospital unless we need to, darling. But I do need to check you are okay and that you don't have a concussion, said the paramedic calmly. She had long black hair and was tied to a ponytail and large brown eyes and an upside-down watch on her chest. Just lie here quietly for me for a few minutes and we will have you up and about in no time, she added, giving me a wink. The wink and her nice voice made me feel a little better, so I did what she said. After she pushed me onto the ambulance, the paramedic told me her name was Devinder and asked me all sort of things, like how I was feeling and if I had a headache or who Emmett was and about my mom and dad. I told her about my dad and she said she was sorry. She held my wrist and checked my pulse and put a thermometer in my mouth and then said, I just need to check your heartbeat. But when she pulled up my school sweater, she stopped. Nice top, she said, her mouth suddenly looking as if it was tickling her. I looked down at myself and suddenly remembered that we had put on our best outfit for the Queen. It's my best top, I said, touching the shirt dotted with sparkling silver stars and golden planets for when we saw the Queen, I explained. Ah, Parademic, the vendor grinned as she opened the top three buttons and put a cold silver disc on my chest. Now take a deep breath in and out. After listening for a moment, she nodded and said, "You look and sound absolutely fine to me. Ready to go?" I nodded, so she helped me down from the bed and held my hand as I got off the ambulance. In the distance, I could hear people cheering, but I didn't know why. "Now I think it's time for you to get on home. Officer Martina is going to take you both in that special car over there," said Paramedic Devinder. She pointed to the London police officer who was standing next to Tom and the two special guards. Behind her was a police car flashing blue lights on top of it. "Really?" asked Tom, his eyes lightening up. I was excited too, but then I remembered the note. But what about the Queen and the note?" I cried, looking up at everyone. "If we don't give it to the Queen, then she would. She won't know that we came, and won't. She won't know about Emmett." Officer Martina smiled. "Oh, I think she will know you came." "All right," she said. The special guard wearing the most medals walked over to me and bent down so that his face was at the same level as mine. He had bright blue eyes and a large dimple in his cheek, just like Dad used to have, only Dad had them in both cheeks, not just one. "Her Majesty isn't here today," he said. "She's actually in her other castle in Windsor." "The Queen's got another castle?" asked Tom, looking horrified. "Don't worry, I will make sure she knows you both were here and she gets it." The special guards held up the note. "All right, promise?" I asked, suddenly feeling happy again. "Like really, really promise?" "You have my word," he nodded, "and a Coldstream guard never breaks their word." "What's a Coldstream guard?" I asked immediately, imagining lots of them diving into freezing cold streams with their heads on. "A Coldstream guard is what we are," he replied, standing back up straight. "I am Lieutenant Chris Taylor, and standing next to your friend Tom, there is Second Lieutenant Walter Kungo." I looked over at the other guard, who was now giving us a salute. "We are part of a very special force that protects both the Queen's houses and the country." "Can you give her our presents too, then?" asked Tom. "Presents?" asked Officer Martina. "Yeah, we got them for the Queen," explained Tom, pulling out half-eaten packet of cookies, the ruler, the packets of soccer stickers, and the box of fudge from my backpack. "I'm afraid we can't take those," Lieutenant Kungu said with a grin. "But we will let her know about them when we give Her Majesty a note." "Oh, okay," Tom shrugged, stuffing everything back into my bag. "Now, kids, time to get you home," said Officer Martina. "We have spoken to your school and your parents and have told them what happened." "Oh, no," said Tom, twisting his hands. "We are gonna be in so much trouble." I nodded miserably. "Don't worry," said Parademic Devender. "I am sure they will be happy to have you back home and safe, and I think," she added, looking up at the helicopters flying overhead, "you might have even be a little bit famous." Tom frowned at me, and I frowned back because we were both wondering what could have made us famous. "You two have a safe journey now," said Lieutenant Taylor. "And the next time you want to send the Queen a message, don't go running after any of us soldiers," said Lieutenant Kungu. "A letter is more than enough." And giving Tom and me a nod and salute, the Queen's special Coldstream guards, who were now extra special to both Tom and me, marched off back toward the palace, carrying the Queen's note. "Right, young toppers, in you go," said Officer Martina as a silver car with bright yellow and blue squares on its doors and a huge siren on the top stopped in front of us. Passing me a piece of folded paper, Parademic Devender said, "That's a special note for your mom, to let her know you are completely fine. So make sure you give it to her, okay?" I nodded. "Bye then." Paramedic Devender smiled as she began to wave. "You both take care of yourselves now." Getting into the back seat of the police car, we waved back. Lots of people also began cheering and waving at us from all along the palace walls. So we waved back at them, too, even though we didn't really know why. Tom got out a cookie and started eating it. I took one, too, but even though I was hungry, I couldn't eat it. My stomach felt all jumpy and twisty inside, and the closer we got to home, the more jumpy and twisty it became. There are some journeys you can't ever enjoy, no matter how exciting they are, not even when you are in real police car, because at the end of it, you know you will be getting at least 100 detentions and probably won't be allowed any allowance or chocolate for 10 years. But it was okay because even not being able to have any chocolate ever again would be if worth it if the queen could help Emmett find his mom and dad. That was all that really mattered.